partners to Halo Book Club, a part of Evolve, your home for Halo. Halo Book Club goes beyond the video games and covers Halo's extended media lore from the novels, short stories, comic books, and more. Today, I am your host, David, and with me is Ian.
Hey, David.
Ian, we're at it again. They can't stop us. They tried.
They can't stop us. No, it's just us now. You, me. That's it.
That's it. Can't be done. Well, you know, we'll run out of Halo content and then we're done. But other than that,
well, not the rate we're
can't
going.
stop us. That's a good point. They just keep me making new shit. Today's book club is on Halo: The Age of Retribution. But before we get into that, just to let you know, welcome to the show. Halo Book Club is part of Evolved. It hosts a whole bunch of other Halo shows. Pockets Evolved, Mission Debrief, Builds of Blocks, and Pro Talk, as well as Halo TV Plus. It's still there. You can learn more about each show all over our website, which is haloevolve.co. Go check it out. It's really, really good website. I do say so myself. If you're a fan of the show, please rate us, leave a review. We love the feedback and like to learn more if we need to and adjust as things go. We also want to thank our patrons. So guys, thank you very much. So like I mentioned, we have a Patreon. We have some incredible people over there keeping us going. So again, guys, thank you so much. If you're not subscribed, go check it out if you like to. There are rewards, of course. You get early episodes, you get some unique swag, access to our own podcast soundtrack, which you would have heard coming in and out of these episodes, as well as an exclusive podcast show, I Would Have Been Your Podcast. You can head over to patreon.com/HaloEvolved to learn more. We also have an Audible trial link, which kind of gives us a little help should you feel inclined to do so. So Audible is all, as you can imagine, a whole bunch of audiobooks. They have all of the Halo novels over there, so go check it out. It's audibletrial.com/podcastevolve. So thank you very much. So here we go. Ian, we're on a roll. We got two good ones. I think we're down a little bit now to an okay one with this one. A lot of shoehorning, your favorite.
I love it.
Yeah. So it's The Age of Retribution. The authors is once again Alex Wakeford and Jeff Easterling. This is the first one, funny enough, which is published by Hello Studios. Ooh. So it was the 8th of November 2024. We're catching up, everybody. The formats are the same as always, the YouTube and the PDF, which is available. It's 29 minutes long, so it's on the long side, but it's a real slow start.
A little bit.
So yeah, the official one is that it's November 3rd, 2552. So the Prophet of Regret was just assassinated by the Master Chief. The Covenant is shaken to its foundations as a feud between the Brutes and Elites reaches a violent turning point. So that kind of sets you where it is. So it's just that after the mission Delta Halo, or is it Regret? I think it's on Delta Halo, where you've assassinated the Prophet of Regret. There's a cutscene there that shows like the changing of the honor guard being over. So a lot of things happen very quickly in this game and in like the lore. So that's kind of where we're placing it. So this story is kind of shoved in there in the middle, and it's linking some things that we knew happened, and then we're actually getting to hear about it. Which is a lot of the high counselors of the Sangheili being murdered, and these are like the ruling class within the Covenant of the Sangheili. They all get kind of killed, kind of murdered off. This is obviously the great betrayal where the Covenant splits. Very interesting part of Halo timeline, as you can imagine. So it came out, which is kind of interesting. So it's in celebration of Halo 2's 20th anniversary, or 20th birthday in November. We follow a group of Sangheili as the Great Schism changes the Covenant forever. So it's pretty good. I say good. I think it's first one under the banner of Halo Studios, which means no difference whatsoever, as you can imagine. So a timeline, 3rd November 2052, like I said, it takes place all on Delta Halo. And there's a few characters, so I'm going to go through the story pretty quickly. There's only really, I would say, 3 of note. So the whole story is told from the perspective of a Sangheili minor, a John Nobody, within the Covenant, and he is unnamed, and which is okay, because his story doesn't end well. So it's kind of like it's set in 2 places. So it has this High Counselor that introduces the Ras Yajidai. I'm going to call him Ras from now on. And Valorano, which are 2 like pretty higher up individuals in Sangheili. They're kind of at a cliff edge. They're kind of on Delta Halo, kind of deeply shaken by the death of their prophet. Obviously these are religious zealots. These are the guys. You know what I mean? This is before Covenant broke, so they're shaken obviously to their core. But what has transpired here? The demon has showed up. They couldn't believe he showed up on the Halo. That he immediately managed to get on the Halo and assassinate a prophet. Deeply troubles them. As well as that, Prophet of Truth had to immediately kind of glass and destroy that temple, trying to kill them. So like they're all very much, you've destroyed holy relics to do this. So that kind of like, it's all kind of hodgepodging in there, boiling over within the Sangheili. They're not sure what to do. So eventually they're talking. There's a little bit of politics back and forth between different characters. It's kind of loosey goosey around, but essentially they're kind of talking about what are the ramifications of what just happened. Essentially, they've seen that Truth has favored the Jiralhane over the Sangheili, and that's kind of a sour note in their mouth. The changing of the honor guard happens. They're kind of pretty insulted by that. And then they get like a transmission from the Prophet of Exquisite Devotion, which is a high-ranking Sanshayum. It says, everybody must join at the Chamber of Consecration, which is a location that you get to, and which we'll talk to in a little while, on Delta Halo. And here we're going to talk and discuss that we cannot go on our great journey without a third prophet. We need the hierarch up there. So you're all going to come here. We're going to have a talk and vote in a new one, essentially. So they're talking, okay, great. We need one that like Sangheili. So try and get one on our side. They're thinking the politics. And then Ras and his kind of entourage, including our elite minor, move along essentially to go to this area and make preparations to move. While they're on their way, they bump into a whole bunch of Jiralhane who come down. They are led by a leader named Avatus, so we'll talk about him a little bit later. He's his own entourage of Jiralhane. They kind of have a brief kind of conversation. Tensions ramp up. They notice he's got blood on his blade. It turns out they recognize that it's elite Sangheili blood, and that he's here to pretty much kill them. And then the fight breaks out. It's kind of a brutal. This is where it kind of kicks up and gets kind of good, interesting. So like the fight is pretty good. There's a lot of elites get blown apart by grenades. The brute rifles, which are described as bayonets here, which I've never thought of them in that way. Because when I think of a bayonet, I think of a very different image. So I was like, it's a brute shot, but okay, we're going to call it bayonet. So it's a pretty brutal fight. Volrano is like a fighter. He gets taken down. There's a lot about the brutes just like murdering people around the place. They grab this guy and pulls him over the edge. That's kind of, he dies. Our High Counselor Ras gets kind of knocked unconscious and kind of taken away, and then everybody else is kind of left to fight on their own. So our elite minor picks up the sword of Volrano's and attempts to like defend himself, but he's not very good. He's only just been trained. He gets mortally wounded, and then it's essentially him just talking about, oh man, I'm dying. This kind of sucks. I've been betrayed. I wasn't very good. And then he sees a silver warrior step in, and it's the Arbiter just after having arrived. He picks up his discarded weapon, which is a plasma rifle, as well as Volrano's sword from the ground, and then moves on essentially. So at that moment, this is the beginning of Halo Uprising, which is a mission in Halo 2. I think it's the last one you play as the Arbiter. It's actually a pretty good mission. This is the Arbiter gets teleported here by the Gravemind. He just kind of shows up at this cliffside. There is a whole bunch of dead Sangheilis around the place here, which is the story we've just witnessed. So you come in immediately as the Arbiter and start fighting these brutes that just literally betrayed the Sangheilis we were talking about, Ras. So that's kind of where that story ends, with kind of him, this elite minor dying, and then we have a short break where they play some great Halo 2 music in here, which I kind of liked, which brings this episode up a little bit. The second part is essentially where Ratas wakes up in the holding cell. Avatas kind of comes and they have quite an interesting discourse of talking to each other about the betrayal, about like, you were just discarded. A lot of the internal monologue of Ratas I kind of like. He seems like quite a good character. Talking about like what it took to get here. This is where I wanted to be. I did everything my whole life to be here, to be ready for the great journey, and obviously it's not what I expected. It gets kind of cast down, but he takes it very well in his stride. He kind of warns Avatas to think about what happened. Avatas is not a devotee of the great journey, so he just likes the fact that his race have been put above everybody else. He likes the victory that he sees, the rewards that comes with his position. and then kind of Ratas warns them that like it won't last. They'll discard you, just like they discarded us. Another Jackal kind of comes in here and say, hey, we've captured another counselor and a Legolo. So he's like, excellent, I'm going to go question them. I'll come back and kill you later, or you can kill yourself. Then the story kind of ends with you just saying his path is already set, challenging Avitus to choose his own course, kind of thing. And that's kind of where it ends. A little bit kind of meh, but it's where it's interesting is that like you meet this counselor in the game, and where you rescue him and Halo and the Legolo and a bunch of other kind of characters that you can set free from the prison in this mission. So it's kind of just a little bit of backstory, kind of shoves it in there, which is kind of interesting that now you have names to these unknown characters. I didn't really recognize them as counselors, essentially high counselors. That's who we had just rescued. Don't know if I remember that, but interesting. These really badass looking, crazy headpiece, white Sanghelis. They have energy swords and they kind of kick ass in that mission when you rescue them. So, Ian, you love shoehorning. Oh, sorry, Avitus. We never got to Avitus.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Avitus is a character from Halo Wars 1. He's not in the campaign, but he does show up when I think you play with some of the skirmish missions. I think that's where he's based. So he was obviously just a Jiralhanae chieftain then. He is now credited as being part of the Banished. But back then, obviously, he was in the Covenant. He was a high-ranking leader within them. So he's also been kind of shoehorned in a little bit of... There was an image in the Halo Fall of Reach comic series that had like a whole bunch of different kind of Covenant races across the panel. They have said that the Jiralhanae displayed here, that is Avitus. And then they've also said the Halo 2 terminal showed a brute, essentially the anniversary terminal, did show like Jiralhane's killing counselors and stuff like that, like where the schism happened. They're saying that is now Avitus. So he's kind of been retconned a little bit into the games and the lore, which is Ian's favorite. So
always.
Ian, what did you think of this one? We came in hot today. We weren't thinking we're recording. Then we're like, holy shit, we're recording.
Yeah.
And you got this one. How did you make it?
Yeah, like you said, it's not my favorite of the Waypoint Chronicles so far. Certainly the last couple I think we listened to were I think were better. But like, you know, in terms of a story, it's okay. It's not like we talked about this before we started recording, but like, you know, I always my brain turns off when I start hearing too many random Covenant names, like the Sangheili names and stuff, and it's just like it's hard enough for me to like keep track of everyone in the games when I'm physically looking at them, and they even, you know, they make a point to color their armor very different colors, so it's very obvious to the casual gamer or, you know, viewer that this is character 1, this is character 2, and you know, they don't usually use, in fact maybe they do now, but like certainly not back in the Bungie days, use like any sort of Sangheili names. They just gave them their nicknames or whatever you call them. But
we had Halfjaw, and then we had
Halfjaw. We had Arbiter, and now it's Artas, Vadum, and Thel Vadam, right? It's like those I remember, but like all the other ones, like, oh god, it's seemingly there's no rhyme or reason to how they structure their names, and it's just a little tough, especially when you don't get to see it. You're just listening to it. It's like, okay, I'm trying to picture this person. Sure, it looks like any other Sangheili in my, you know, in my mind at least. You know, I know some people are much better at seeing, like if you said Sangheili
aliens
Minor,
are aliens. Come on.
Right. You said Sangheili Minor, and I'm sure probably a lot of the people listening to this are even saying, "Oh, I know what that looks like." I don't remember. I have no idea.
It's a regular low level.
Yeah, but you know what? That's the thing is like
armored elite. Yeah.
I understand conceptually, but like even in the game, it's like, oh, it's another elite. Like I don't even I know the different colors. I know they mean different things. It doesn't. My brain doesn't like really pick up on that for the most part. It just, I don't know. It is what it is. So, anyways, but like get back to this. Because of that, it's hard sometimes in these stories for me to just follow along to what the hell's going on, because I just like my brain glosses over like, oh, it's too many names. I can't do it. But you know, that being said, it's an interesting kind of like parallel little plot to Halo 2, right?
It was something I can't remember where we knew it happened. Maybe it was at Halo 2 Anniversary Terminals. But like I remember being told about this story of the High Counselors being murdered and cast down within this chamber. They were brought to a place and ambushed. I think that might even be a piece of dialogue in the game somewhere. Or Troy, I don't know how I had that information in my brain. So I liked hearing a bit more about that, seeing that kind of fleshed out. Like this, I like this character, Ras, and I hope he should Ras Yajdai. I hope he comes into it again. I like him more. Avatus is still kicking around. He's still in the Banished, so he's still there. We could see him some more.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, it's it does what it like in terms of what it adds to lore. It's an interesting story. I just like the story itself is, a little bit dry for me. But like in terms of what it adds, it's like I don't mind that part of it. Like it doesn't feel too shoehorned in because you kind of like take a, if you're going on like the Halo 2 timeline or just the Halo timeline, you kind of like start at, I guess it'd be starting at the end of whatever mission it is where you kill the Prophet of Regret as chief.
I think it's just called Regret is what I wanted to say. That mission
I think you're right. Yeah. So like if you put like the starting dot there, like it starts there and it kind of like diverges from where, following the Halo 2 story, and it kind of follows a parallel path, and then it converges back an uprising, right? Is that about right?
That's it.
Yeah. So like there's a so it's sort of like it kind of tells this like other part of the story, which we already kind of knew, but it gives it some more context and whatnot, and then it comes back together. It's not even a very long divergence, right? It's only I don't even know the timeline in terms of days,
hours. I don't even know if it was that long.
Days I don't even remember. It can't be, because I think all of Halo 2 on Delta Halo is like 1 day, so it's got to be. I believe so. So it's got to be like 1 day. But either way, like it's a short divergence, but it's interesting. It adds depth to the lore, without feeling like too kind of we just threw a bunch of characters together that you've heard of.
Yeah.
So I actually didn't mind it from that perspective. I just, these Covenant based stories, I want to be able to follow them. I just can't, and like you said with the Avatus, if you hadn't said that, I wouldn't even picked up on it because it's just not a character I remember.
Same. It's only from looking up this, getting the script ready, going, who is this guy? Let's go in and have a look at him. And then clicking on the counselor, Ras's profile and getting, oh shit, I can picture him. I know exactly who he is from the game. I remember rescuing him and thinking, oh, look at this badass elite who's now on my team. And then I thought nothing else of him being a named character. Now, he's only named in this, so going forward, he's now a character. But
exactly, yeah, it's one of those things where you wonder, did they create the character and then kind of go back and find, oh well, I can find this guy and he was now this guy, right? Do they go back and kind of figure it out that way, or do they kind of have an idea all along and they don't really show all the cards until?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? You don't think there's any sort of thought process? I know they do. Like they have
for some characters.
Yeah.
For some characters for sure, but like random Sangheili's in the middle of a mission that you see, no. Like even like a lot of some of these characters are like just dead elites that you see hanging around maps. Do you know what I mean? I can't picture them thinking, oh, he has this background story. We'll tell it eventually, maybe somewhere. Do they have crazy amounts of lore in the background? For sure.
Yeah.
Maybe some of it enters into the game. Maybe some of it comes into these stories years later. But I can't see them doing it regularly. Certainly not anymore.
Right. Yeah. It's No, I guess it's true. I mean, there's I'm sure there's bits and pieces they can tie in as they go along still, but it's just interesting to go back and you look at the Avatus page on Halopedia now, and it's like, oh, he was here and he was here, he was in this concept art, and it's like, was he? It's like, okay, it's I just think it's just funny. I would have to say it's not. There's nothing against this story because this story there's nothing to do with it. But like they did the same thing like with Avatus, where he's in Halo Wars 1. I guess I don't know if that's his first chronological appearance in the timeline. Yeah. But there's like a lot of characters like that. Like they're all in Halo Wars 1, which was like at the beginning of the war, and then 30 years later, they're all still alive and fighting at the end of the war and beyond. It's like, man, 30 years, 30 years. I know aliens, whatever, right? But it's like that's a long goddamn time to be, not
Well,
having retired or moved on. Like all these characters
they
are just like
do,
fighting for 30 years straight, seemingly.
which is a very long time.
Yeah,
And
like
then you,
and they did that with they did that with Johnson, right?
yeah,
With Halo Wars, or not Halo Wars, with what the heck's the book? Contact Harvest. With Contact Harvest.
yeah,
But
yeah.
but that was more of a origin story of him, even though I don't remember how young he was in that, but he wasn't like, I think he was super young, but he was younger, obviously. And then
They
Halo
could put him in his 20s, and he could be in potentially.
Yeah, well, he was he was already like special ops and training, so he couldn't have been that young. But either way, like and then they obviously, he's still in the story at the end of Halo 3, or almost to the end of Halo 3. So I guess that's like, well, his story ends there. It's still long, like for a human, 30 years to be fighting in a war. Like, that seems nuts, right? And so like it always is a little bit of a stretch of my imagination to think like everything that happened in like Halo Wars timeline and before, all these characters are still here, and they just pop up randomly, in the end in these stories like this, or in the post-war stuff. It's like, man, these people just don't die. But anyways, that doesn't say anything against the story itself. So this story, this story was fine. I guess I'll go back to that. It was fine. The good add to the lore. Story itself was okay.
So, in talking about characters stretching the timeline, what I didn't realize, Sergeant Johnson was 78 when he died.
I know, right?
That's mental. So yeah, who cares what age he was in Contact Harvest? Because obviously,
78.
Yeah, man, you can just kick some ass at 78. So fair play.
Yeah, well, he was what was he, a Spartan? What was it?
One, yeah.
One or whatever. Yeah. So
yeah.
like, something augmentation, something whatever.
something
future tech. Yeah, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
But
nanobots, we got it.
Yeah. Right. So and yeah, I mean, that's one I give him a pass on that one, because it's like, Sergeant Johnson's such a cool character, and it's a good, Contact Harvest is a good story, and so yeah, that's I give him a pass on that. And again, it's like Avitus in this story is like, it doesn't even really have anything to do with this story. It's just like a interesting, like, to why they bother to tie him in like that. Does it? I guess for some fans maybe it's more interesting. I just, again, would kind of prefer, I like new characters, and just bring me new characters, kill off the old characters, bring in some new characters, right? Sometimes, so at some point, someone's gonna actually die in story, especially in a story about war. It's kind of it gets a little boring.
Man, Bungie kills so many characters.
Yeah,
and we're like,
yeah.
no,
Well,
they
did. They did it. Yeah, Halo 3, they did kind of just kill off a bunch of kids, which is fine. Obviously,
you gotta have stakes.
That person's. Well, exactly. Yeah. You gotta have stakes. It's like this. Well, I'm not gonna. We're getting off topic here.
Yeah, sorry. So there is a bit of trivia about Avitus, was that, like, okay, he's a chieftain featured in Halo Wars. He's based on an illustration found in terminal number 12 of the Halo 2 anniversary. In the terminal, a Jorhane with an identical appearance to Avitus can be seen slaughtering the counselors. The two remained unconfirmed to be that same character until this story. So there you go. So that is that. I think I've covered all the trivia. Obviously, this is the first piece of content from Halo Studios. Very exciting. Their first content.
Big change,
drop.
Yeah.
So that's it. It's an okay story. It kind of links in some interesting characters, like I said before. So I'd like to see Ratas show up again. Avitus we might even see again if we have. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say no. Two more of these characters. So that's kind of it. So it's okay. We did
get one. I was looking at the list of characters from the story. We got one new character, Ansu, whatever. Everyone else has already been in, like, we just pulled in a bunch of other characters that have already been in different stories. So again, it's like, give me new characters.
Yeah. Well, even that's fun, because they're saying, like, there's a few of them that are not counted as being like the first appearance, but that's only because they've technically shoehorned them into older content. Do you know what I mean? So like Ratas is new. Avitus is not new. Avitus was he even named in Halo Wars 1? Probably not. I think it was just called the Chieftain. So
one of those, now you gotta go to the page and pull up the history of the page. I don't remember.
No, he was just called Brute Chieftain.
There you go.
Does he have an image gallery? I'm gonna click on it. They call him the Thrall Slayer.
Yes, I say I've heard that name before, but and I don't remember where I first heard it.
I don't think I'd ever heard it before, but
I don't. Yeah, I heard it from who's Avitus in Mar. Okay, so he's been Avitus for some amount of time, I guess. Apparently.
So here is.
This is now we're just broadcasting our searching through Halopedia.
Well, I'll tell you now. Looking at the Halo War in-game, kind of information about this character, he's unnamed. He's just rank Chieftain Brute Army Commander in Halo Wars 1. So he didn't have a name in Halo Wars 1.
Okay. So, it's good to know.
There we go. All right. Cool. Okay, we have dragged the absolute arse out of this.
Yes, we have. This is very long.
This is content. But okay. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. Again, as I mentioned at the top of the show, you can find all of our episodes for every one of our shows. There are many. We're going at almost 11 years this year, which is pretty crazy.
Christ.
So it's there. Yeah, I'm old. Krista is also old now.
No, she's gone though.
May she rest
She's disappeared.
Yeah. So again, check out our website. Our website is not old, but it's pretty slick. It's haloevolve.co. It also features links to various places where you can find us: Discord, Facebook, Patreon, Xbox Live, and whatnot. Once again, shout out to all of our patrons. Thank you guys so much. You're amazing. Patreon.com/HaloEvolve to learn more. And finally, if you want to leave us a voicemail, you can do so on 205-VOLT. That's 205-386-5822. And with that, I've been your host, David. And until next time, welcome.